We're about to cut that out in the middle today. I don't even care anymore. You know what's been grinding my gears more than usual lately? Liberals, or I guess more specifically, college kids. So they're going to be sort of the first part of this gears grinding thing tonight, right? Honestly, you know what's really actually bothering me though? They're just, I don't know, they make me sad. Straight up. It's just that they're so predictable, right? You know exactly what they're going to say before they even open their mouths because they've been using this same exact script for over a decade now. And everybody I know, seriously, everybody, we're all just sick of it. They're like those wind-up toys, right? They just walk into walls over and over, right? Except instead of walking into walls, they're walking into a Starbucks, right? To demand that the manager apologize for misgendering the writing on their soy lattes or whatever the hell they're drinking. And they're always just so angry, dude. It's exhausting. Like they're 19 years old. They've never had an actual job. They've never paid an actual bill, but they act like they got the weight of the entire world on their shoulders because some guy in their gender studies class said, "Hey guys," instead of "Hey folks." And it's up to them to make sure justice is served to this evil queer phobe. Bro, relax. No one cares about that guy, like at all. Also, I'm still unsure as to what queerphobe actually means, even though I've had to read all this queer theory crap lately. Seriously, it's sort of amorphous to me. I don't know. My best guess is that it's someone who doesn't listen to all the inane nonsense that academics are telling them to get them to believe that water ain't wet. And while we're on the subject of the, hey guys and not hey folks guy, what's with this fancy PMC insistence on adding the word folks to their lexicon that's been going on the last couple of years? Or even worse, when they say y'all. Anyway, I digress, right? My dear college kid, you're not a hero of the revolution because you put your pronouns in your X bio. You're just a kid who's really good at retweeting. I don't know. It's just also performative, right? These kids screech and holler and whine all day because they don't like that the Communist Party doesn't think that their gender neutral language or whatever is impressive. And we'd rather just focus on organizing our communities and the real existing working class, right? And then they act like the second coming of Lenin because they posted a black square on Instagram back in the day, right? Like that was just as important as if they had marched with MLK or something. It's all, I don't know, man. It's just so fake. I'm sick of it. Like just admit that you're doing this so you can feel special and that you join whatever stupid anti-communist trot org to get laid. Like stop pretending you're changing the world because you yelled at a cafeteria worker for serving non-organic bananas. And don't worry, by the way, I'm going to do a whole thing on the word org at some point. But for now, we're going to go to number 2, which is James Lindsay. This guy is the wokest anti-wokeism guy I've ever seen in my life. The really bizarre thing is that people treat him like he's some kind of like intellectual heavyweight, right? Like he's the academic one to go to if you want to criticize wokeism. But really, he's just a dude who figured out how to monetize outrage. Bro, we get it. You hate wokeness. Cool, right? Stop pretending every little thing is, some grand Marxist conspiracy. We ain't got nothing to do with them. When you try to tie it to Marxism, you expose yourself as a complete moron. Even if we set aside the fact that wokes are literally always attacking, the Communist Party for not bowing down to the, gender ideology gods or whatever it is at a given time and place, and everything else that's in his face 24/7. We still have the very, very, very basic fact that wokeism's fundamental philosophical premises are diametrically opposed to Marxism. For wokeism, the feelings an individual has are primary, right? They must determine their reality. And for Marxism, I mean, what did Marx himself say, right? He said that it is not the consciousness of man that determines his existence, but on the contrary, his social existence that determines his consciousness. So it is impossible to demand someone validate your lived experience or whatever from the Marxist perspective. Look, don't get me wrong. He's actually got some good things to say about the roots and funding of the entire social engineering project that's currently going on. You know, the stuffs that the wokes don't want you to know about, like how BlackRock and Vanguard and those kind of giant financial sort of structures, they won't even touch a company until they get their blue dot approval, right? And by the way, go ahead and look up that blue dot program. It's messed up. Anyway, that means tons and tons and tons of money for sensitivity training and DEI workshops and all of that, right? Lindsay's right about that. You know what else he's right about? How wokes refuse to debate because that debate could expose their ineptitude, right? Their dogmas and their lies in the service of that social engineering. So, why is it that Mr. Lindsay, Mr. I hate wokeism himself, is running away from debating the American Communist Party's leadership like a scared little schoolgirl who just saw her first horror movie? Both Eddie Smith and Haz al-Din have challenged him to a debate, right? And he runs away and complains just like the wokes do. I mean, I'll debate it myself, and I'm not even half the debater that Haz is. Seriously, this kind of pure pansy ass cowardice after picking a fight just grinds my gears to no end. James, I'm talking to you now. You're out here calling yourself a truth teller, right? But you won't even get in the ring with an actual communist. What are you afraid of? That maybe will expose you for the grifter you are? That will point out that you're just making stuff up to sell books and get clicks? Like, bro, if you're so confident in your ideas, why won't you defend them? That's right, because you can't, right? Deep down, you know you're full of shit. You're not a scholar, James. I'm sorry, you're just not. You can have as many degrees as you want. You're just a guy who figured out how to make a living by yelling about wokeness on the internet. And hey, more power to you. I yell about wokeness all the time. But don't act like you're some kind of hero or your critique of wokeism holds a goddamn candle to the Marxist one. You ain't, and it don't. All right, number 3 for tonight. Small-time project managers at work. These people bother me. All right, they bother me. Dude, the whole monitors of the job site, plain and simple, right? They get the smallest amount of power even possible to have. And suddenly they're acting like they're running NASA, right? If you don't pay attention to every stupid idea that they have, like the rocket is going to run out of fuel and our boys will never make it home from Mars. You're not sending a man to the moon or Mars or nothing. You're managing a team of people who are trying to figure out why the crown molding is 2 inches too short. Relax. But no, they're scheduling meetings with us about meetings, sending out emails with fancy subject lines like action required, urge an update on Q3 goals, and acting like the CEO of the entire company. Dude, you're not Jeff Bezos. And it's so bizarre, even in the trades. I got a buddy at work who just got promoted, right? By the way, as I got demoted, but that's a whole nother bag of bananas. And now he talks like he's in some frou-frou office. He's all like, let's circle back on that topic, Noah. And we need to leverage our unique assets in order to execute and blah, blah, blah. What does that even mean? Just say what you want to say. You're not fooling anyone. We've been working with you for like 8 years now. And we know you're the guy who used to, house 2 turkey sandwiches at lunch and then burp at customers and giggle about it. Dude goes from cool turkey burp guy, right, to micromanaging people with over a decade more experience than him in the blink of an eye. I'll give you an update whether there's an update to give, Larry. Buck. I mean, I guarantee you the fate of the company does not depend on whether or not there are self-tapping screws in my tool belt right now. I can always get more if they're not. Take a beat, man. Go make you a turkey sandwich or something. And maybe, just maybe, realize that you're not as important as you think you are. I mean, that's always the problem, right? Self-importance. That's why we're here, right? Fighting back against the same sort of self-importance in the parasites who think we owe them our lives so that they can get rich. Let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about how we're going to take our lives back from those fucking snakes. I don't know. Start the fucking song.
High Sheriff Hazard is a hard man to be. High Sheriff is his only plan. He digs through pockets, takes what he can, for he's High Sheriff Hazard. He caught me one evening, and here's what he said: "You look like a Russian, you look like a red, and if you're fond of your skin and your head, beware the High Sheriff of Hazard."
That was kind of hot. I got kind of hot there. I'm sorry, Sebastian. I may have yelled and hurt your ear.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, just to circle back to the James Lindsay thing, and
You said circle back.
but yeah, the whole situation with the college students, and I almost feel bad for them because it's like they just don't know what the hell they're talking about. So when these anti-communists falsify Marxism, they can't effectively push back. But that strategy, the Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro-esque thing where they just go to a college campus and debate these idiots, it was effective back in 2016, 2018, but people see through it now. It's lazy.
Well, it's like, I'm sorry, but the Communist Party is here now, right? There wasn't one back then, not really. So the idea that they can still get away with this is ridiculous. Every time they complain about Marxism, and then the Communist Party goes, "Okay, let's talk about it, son," and then they run away, they're revealing themselves, right? And people all over the internet see that. People like James Lindsay's own fans were railing on him, saying that Eddie, a good friend of ours, but he's also one of the leaders of the Communist Party, would beat the snot out of him, right? Because it wasn't even a contest. James Lindsay's kind of tubby. He's older. He said he wouldn't debate, but would kick his butt, using the word butt like an old, very strange. But so Eddie's like, okay, let's do that. And he won't do that either. I don't know what, like, anti-communists at the end of the day have only lies and cowardice, and that's really all there is to it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they run from these debates, because it's like the least amount of pushback will expose their falsifications so plainly. Like they have to read in intersectionality or all these like postmodern theories into Marxism, as if that's not what we're fighting against ourselves.
Right? Like a very quick look at our social media would show you that the wokes effing hate us because we're not also woke, and they hate everything that isn't woke. I think that might be one of the issues of um, sort of the rightist perspective is they think that the wokes hate rightism or what they call conservatism or what they call family values or any of this. What they really hate is anything that isn't wokeism. I mean,
And they
I
hate
hate
winning
to tell
too.
you know, like that's just kind of how it is. Amax, thank you so much for the super. I can't talk tonight, man. Super sticker, brother. Thank you. Um, it's just I don't know, man. I get sick of it, right? And like I find it. I try really, 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 really hard not to blame just the random people, right? That get sort of swept up into it. They're told, "Oh, hey, you like the things like justice and think all men are created equal and blah blah blah," right? Like, and
Yeah,
so they get told all of this woke craziness is what's radical and how to support the working class and whatever, and they just believe it.
yeah, and I mean, this is a byproduct of incredible amounts of alienation, in which these people think that in some sense their existence is inherently revolutionary. Them just existing as a countercultural thing is
Right.
going to carry forth the class struggle, and that's just not the case. It's working in the ruling class's favor by atomizing all of us.
Yeah, and one of the things it's funny because I'm kind of watching the chat here and now, here and again, and we got like one of them in our chat right now, and they always say the same thing. Like, actually, woke just means that you understand the struggle of the working class, but like that's not how anyone uses it, man, and it's
Yeah.
clearly not how we're using it. We're using it to describe the sort of new bourgeois ideology.
Yeah, it's like when people get on our ass for saying deep state, or people for saying deep state. It's like, what we mean. We're not using it in the same way as like QAnon or whatever. Like,
Right. And you know what? Like, even if we were, why do you care? Stop trying to like police what I say, man. Jesus Christ. Like, and this is like a problem of wokeism. This constant need to tell everybody else what to think. Just relax. There's a whole big world out there for you to experience.
yeah,
Like, being such a ball of hate all the time can't be good for your mental health. It just can't be.
yeah. I mean, the essence is like you have a group of people who maybe agree on 99% of the things, and it's like they just drill at that 1% just to divide everyone unnecessarily. They just have
Right.
to find something.
Exactly. It's like it's sort of a wrecking tactic, right? That like the FBI's used forever. And but they embrace it now because the purity fetish coming on the coattails of operations like COINTELPRO, Operation Chaos, other programs like the Congress for Cultural Freedom to sort of organically create a fake left. When it rides on those coattails, right? It just becomes what they do, right?
Yeah.
And so like they will go looking for something to offend them, right? Like search and search for hours, wasting hours and hours of their precious free time that you got to know they have barely any of,
Yeah,
right?
and to
Eh,
tie this. Oh, sorry.
no, just I'll just finish up my thought. Um, so they do this for hours, trying to find anything they can in someone's history that will sort of make them impure, so that that hole inside them, left by this hyper alienation of our era, can be filled for a moment by sort of performing superiority to this person. Like, ha, I knew you were terrible. You know what I mean? And it's just all like so performative and honestly fucking boring.
Yeah, and along the same vein of like the Congress for Cultural Freedom, these people, they genuinely think their thoughts are completely organic, and it leads us back to where we are right now, where they're protesting the dissolution of U.S. aid, and it's like we can't get here without you being completely manipulated.
Right. Well, it's like it's this sort of again, it's like the woke ideology that puts the language before the reality. So like they have this abstract notion of what it means to be left or radical or whatever they think in their head, and it must include all of these vague characteristics, right? And one of them means you're against Trump. So when Trump does something awesome like destroying USAID, you have to automatically be against that because the word attached to him is fascist, and it's bad, right? Which is silly. It's not fascism. Trump isn't a fascist. Fascism has a whole history that must lead to it, right? But like, so when you're basing everything on these sort of abstract categories, you're so easily manipulated just by the ruling class changing the language they use, you know?
Yeah, people get completely captured by the spectacle instead of actually looking at what's going on. Like all these celebrities getting on crying on social media about the immigration situation when Obama and Biden, their peak numbers of deportation were higher than Trump. And
way higher. It's like they cared about the kids in cages when Trump was president, but not when Biden was, right?
Yeah.
Like AOC was like melting down, like sobbing. And then suddenly she's like, no, we need more of those. But they're humane cages. They're equality cages, guys. Right? Fucking wizards, man. I'm saying fuck a lot tonight. I apologize. I don't know. I've just had a weird day. Let's start the show, huh? What do you think?
Sounds
We'll
good.
do that. Sorry, guys. I'm I don't know. I'm sick of it, man. Give me a second here because our link expired after, like I don't know. Just give me a second. I got to share my screen. There we go. My screen is shared. We're ready to actually start the show. What's up? Who do we have first, Sebastian?
So first up, we have John or Nyarla, and they just want to discuss the importance of like Realpolitik for Marxist-Leninists and on the international stage. For
Awesome.
example, like the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, stuff like that.
Bring him on in. What's up, John? How you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, I have a very important question for you, Noah.
I know you do. What's up?
So, what about the rock band of 4 guys who can't sing? Heard about it?
Rock band of 4 guys who can't sing. I have not heard about that. No.
Yeah, it's called Mount Rushmore. Talk about stoner rock.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep. Well, I hope you dig it. But before that, our more serious question today. What about the arguments that political realism in the international relations context may be an integral part of Marxism-Leninism if you look at historical examples, such as the Kaiser's limited support for Lenin in World War I, or Stalin trying to buy time before World War II, or much of Mao's foreign policy? Would you say much for or against, or a bit more nuance for this position?
I think, look, there's always nuance to every position, but at the end of the day, this is a very, very big problem within like the sort of fake left right now. That and it's really a sort of Western chauvinist American, like the people that plaster themselves with hammers and sickles and, like run around saying, oh, they're not real communists. Those Chinese actually, in a communist party that's done such amazing things, they're not the real ones. I'm the real pure one. But they act as if ideology is the sort of impetus behind everything. Like there's dogmas that we must accept as Marxist-Leninists. And if we do not follow those, we are not real communists, right? But the truth is that what communism really means, like in practical application, right? As the motor of history, the sort of the real movement of history, which is what Marx calls it, is that we look for dynamic solutions to the present problems in our condition, right? There's no universal one size fits all answer to every question, the way the people that run around calling themselves Maoists or whatever think there is. There is only the necessary moving forward of history according to the class interests of the the proletariat, which is what Marx calls the ingenious soil of humanity, which represents the future of all humanity. So in one situation, you could have a very sort of top-down necessity for everyone to sort of fall in line because you're under attack. Like the Nazis are invading. You need everything planned out to the letter right now so you have enough to survive, right? Or in another situation, you could need capital desperately in order to build up the forces of production. And so you have two radically different policies based on the conditions. And this is what the sort of fake left never understands, that it's all about just pushing forward from wherever we're at. Does that sort of answer well enough, John?
Yes. A potential follow-up question might be, when might be examples of communist countries, even though they have they're both nominally communist, or at least claim to be, actual historical animosity that prevents them from further integrating? For example, I know we've gone over, say, Sino-Soviet split, but how about, say, Vietnam and China? Because I know during the Cold War, Vietnam was more in the Soviet sphere of influence, and there was the border war between the two. But Vietnam has been invaded by China a couple of times, so there's a bit of a historical animosity there. And to what extent it can be exploited by imperialists is still very much a hotly debated topic.
And that like sort of rivalry goes back even to before communism in either country, right?
Yeah.
Those are like very, very long-standing antagonisms. And just because we're all communists doesn't mean we all get along all day. There's still very real practical necessity in each country, and sometimes those interests can diverge. Now, at the end of the day, yes, the universal proletariat has different national forms that it has to take on during the bourgeois epoch, right? But there's always and our interests always sort of connect, right? But there can always be short-term necessities that can get in the way of that. Like you said, with Vietnam and China. I mean, they've literally invaded Vietnam. That's not a very friendly thing to do, right?
No. Well,
go ahead.
It also may be drawn potentially by internal contradictions. One potential one, a Chinese friend of mine mentioned, is that during Deng Xiaoping's reforms, the border conflict politically kept the army busy to prevent them from potentially interfering in domestic affairs.
Also true, especially like even like right before that era, there were a lot of random uprisings and like problems with Red Guards and stuff like that just got out of control. So that can spill over into international relations as well, right? Like the Red Guards were also not exactly friendly in the border regions, right? So like, I mean, obviously the biggest example is the Sino-Soviet split, but let's even look over at the other side of the world. In Cuba, right? They were also Soviet aligned. Cuba, before the revolution, had been sort of like kept as a sugar plantation, right? So all of their soil was like set for these giant export crops. And what they're trying to do is become food self-sufficient. They needed to be. They couldn't sort of be a dependent and colony anymore. They needed their independence, their sovereignty in order to survive. Now, in the short term, the Soviet Union just buying all of their sugar really worked out in their benefit. But in the long term, at the same time, it was keeping their soil in a position where they couldn't expand out of export crop production, right? For sugar.
Yeah, that's not very sweet.
No, it is not. And the Soviets did not give them a very sweet deal on the sugar either. They knew they sort of had them in a crunch and they squeezed, right? Which, I mean, Moscow had a tendency to do sometimes. They just did. They weren't always, you know, the friendly Russians helping everyone altruistically. No, they were the center of the entire world communist movement and needed to think about that before everything, because when they fall, everything falls. And so this would just naturally get in the way of the interests of places like Cuba sometimes, or obviously places like China, right? So like the idea that we're all just kumbayaing really just neglects the real world. And even if we want to sort of do what's right, what's ethical, whatever, sometimes we're prevented from doing that just by necessity of the situation. I don't know. That's how I see it anyway.
Well, I guess the enemies of communism are definitely still seeing red about that. So,
all right. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. John and I are the only people I am convinced in the world that love puns on that kind of level. Look, Left Side Noob or crew or whoever you are, enough like whining in the chat. If you want to talk about something, it's a call-in show, buddy. Call in. We'll talk about whatever you want, but like, I don't know, stop bothering me with that. Who do we have next, Sebastian?
Next up is Cash, and they just wanted to ask how the ACP plans on winning the information war when hegemony is so strong.
Ooh, that's a great question. What's up, Cash? How you doing tonight? Cash. Cash, are you there?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing?
All right. So my question is, how do you guys plan on winning the information warfare when on social media, on the news media, the hegemony seems so strong? It seems like fighting an uphill battle to at least educate people on things that would like really help when it comes to class consciousness, that would help with labor organizing.
I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? Look, I think we have a good strategy that we use right now. And the way the internet works is sort of think of it in layers, right? And there's different sections of the internet that are sort of cordoned off from each other. For example, my wife is right now watching this like Netflix documentary on this influencer lady who was killed by her boyfriend, right? Like they bought a van and it was big news, but it was not anywhere near my section of the internet. I literally heard nothing about it when it was happening until she started watching this Netflix documentary. So like, it's interesting that they can be that cut off from each other. At the same time, we go in layers of where things connect. So the idea is to penetrate into the outermost layer where everyone is, where you see pop headlines like this influencer lady that her boyfriend killed her, right? And then you bring them a layer in, right? And that next layer in is there's something wrong with the system. We need to figure out what it is and how to fight it. And then from there, you bring them to the next layer in, which is, oh, well, the only real way to fight it is the working class doing so because the ruling class are the problem, right? And so we have sort of like operators able to go on in these different layers and sections of the internet and funnel people into a deeper layer until we're at a point where they're joining the Communist Party, or they're going to, the classes that the Institute puts on, or whatever. Eddie and Jackson are particularly fantastic at doing this. A lot of that, unfortunately, can't be taught. It's natural charisma and the fact that people just kind of like them, right? Like, I will never be as charismatic as Eddie. I'm fine with that, right? My job is on a different layer of this. I'm more in the get people to, when they're interested in Marxism, begin actually teaching them the sort of what are the myths and what is the truth, and funnel them into the truth. And then we keep going with a deeper and deeper layer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Is this how U.S. soft power does it? Because if anything, it seems like the real question is, how do you counter U.S. soft power? Because it's so powerful to where it could cause like an Arab Spring. Like U.S. soft power, like caused the decimation of the USSR to a major degree, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, it's nowhere near. It's not at all like the ruling classes tactics. Their tactics is throwing money at things because they have that money, right? We don't, despite what, their agents will tell you all over social media, we get funded by nobody, right? We're broke. We're straight up broke. So if you know any Chinese billionaires, send them our way. But seriously, like,
Yeah, Mom.
that's the way to fight against all that money, and frankly, to take advantage of the natural antagonisms within the ruling class. Trump destroying USAID is one of the best things to happen to our country and for our working class in maybe 100 years. No joke, like maybe since the sort of some parts of the New Deal, right? So like taking advantage of that and springing on that opportunity to continue that narrative once it's out there, that one gets us into those sections of the internet, right, that we wouldn't otherwise be able to penetrate. But two, it gets the actual truth out there. When someone in the ruling class is willing to tell you the truth, you gotta hop on that. I don't care if like you like Trump or dislike Trump or whatever. That's just what you gotta do if you're interested in winning, and we want to win.
Okay, yeah, thanks for answering.
My pleasure, brother. You got anything else for us?
Nah, that was it, honestly. Just a one-track mind.
Dude, I'm the exact same way, believe me. Well, look, I mean, we don't have it all figured out. It would be nice to have millions of dollars, right? That would make things so much easier. But I think we got a good start. We have some very, very powerful sort of weapons in our arsenal, right?
Yeah, like class antagonism seems to be like one of the strongest things that we have, honestly.
It does, right? Like right now we're in this time of crises where the ruling class has been lying, telling us everything's okay for so long as things have gotten worse, that one, people don't believe the media anymore. And two, they look around and know that there's something wrong. So we're sort of already getting people into that section, that layer of the project, regardless, right? We don't even need to sort of try to reach into other layers to grab them. They're already there. You'd be surprised how many people just randomly approach me and ask me what the Communist Party's plan is for this or that, right? Besides just on this show, obviously, which is sort of boring. It's an optimistic time. The working class is beginning to wake up. And I think that it means the Communist Party is more necessary than ever before in our history.
Yeah, I wish y'all the best. It's honestly the best time in history for us to win.
Absolutely, brother. Well, thanks a lot for your call. Have a great night. We'll call back again sometimes. I love talking to people like that, man. When they just have like an honest question. You know, it is incredibly hot in my office, by the way. Jesus Christ. My window is like wide open, yet still, and it's like freezing outside. Still, it's like real hot in here. I don't know why. I think the people often, especially the old heads, right? They really, really underestimate the power of the internet and how sort of the narratives going around the internet inform people's actual real life activity. You know how many like old liberals really from the old party used to like dismiss Twitter Marxism and all this. But who are they always talking about? People on the internet, right? Because the internet and the real world aren't two separate things. The internet's in the real world, and what happens on it matters. It matters. It's like this. I used to call it activist brain, right? You sort of hang out only with other activists. You're only doing activist things. You're only saying activist sayings. You're only thinking activist thoughts. And you get so sort of up your own ass that everything outside of that is less than, right? If someone is reaching thousands or even millions of people via the internet with the message, communism is what we need, they're still less than you because you attended some stupid meeting that nobody cares about, because that's doing the work, right? What do you think, Sebastian?
Yeah, and if it didn't matter, the ruling class wouldn't be putting so much money into it.
Right?
I mean, they're influencing every single layer of our consciousness, you know, from the institutes to the media to even the people we watch.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to think that the internet is unimportant. Last chance, left side crew. We are at VC or ban time. You pick, brother. Either get in the VC right now, and we'll sort of fast track you, or get banned. I'm sick of this nonsense. TikTok, decide.
And there's no one on the queue, so we
Oh,
can put
isn't
you
there?
right up.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll put you in right now. Money where your mouth is. Stop being a pussy. It's
I
funny
also
that like
think someone said they're
anti-communists
trying to find the
always
discourse.
they talk so much when they're hiding safely behind their little keyboards, right? But then when it comes time to actually like man up and have a conversation where their nonsense can be addressed, they run away just as fast as James Lindsay's running away, right? So
Yeah,
TikTok,
ban,
man.
please.
Okay, he says ban, please. That is not hard to do.
And I'm pretty sure it was a troll from the beginning.
Oh, of course it
They were
was.
saying something about them being a self-employed barista.
I want to be a self-employed barista.
What does that even mean? Doesn't that mean you own the business, or you just make yourself coffee?
I assume it would mean like I made myself this coffee. And
Yeah.
It's delicious. By the way, I am a very good barista. You guys want good coffee? You come to see your buddy Noah, right? I can build you an entire cart to put your coffee on. That'll make you the coffee. I just know that the making the coffee part is parasitic. I'm sorry, like the whole barista argument is funny to me, man. Like we're arguing about like oh, hold on. Please, it's now Noette.
No way.
Don't dead name me. I'm terrible tonight.
And it's like they think it's a personal insult on each individual barista. Like it's just an analysis of what is important for us to organize, or more important for us to organize.
Right, and it's sort of like, look, at the end of the day, actors are unproductive workers
Mhm.
who are basically parasites living off of the overpriced sort of pseudo value of their labor based on stock signals of the parent company. boring economic stuff you guys don't care about. But I don't like fault people for being actors. You know, if you can do that, get yours, right? Like, I don't care, but you are a parasite. I'm not gonna not say that's parasitic. Like, that's value being created elsewhere, and sort of fluffed up in your area.
There's a caller waiting. I'm gonna get their question and then
Sure, go ahead, brother. We'll take some chats here. Noah, do you still jam to some punk rock? Very off topic, I understand. Yeah, I like punk. I actually I came up in punk rock and hardcore, and garage rock. Really, a lot of garage rock and power pop. I haven't kept up with anything new or anything like that. I got super into a band called The Fevers a while ago, and another one that was like a one man. I got really into these like garage rocky one man bands. One of them was called No Bunny. So if you're into that kind of stuff, check out No Bunny, like Bunny. There's a great song called I Am a Girlfriend. That's really, it's one of my favorites. And then another one, Mark Sultan, who also goes by Barbecue, which I think is kind of awesome. Especially with the revolutionary from Haiti. But yeah, thanks, Sam. I will. He says that a lot of people are coming back, and yeah, I saw recently that so it's not punk, but maybe 8-9 years ago, the Violent Femmes, who I like grunge too. The Violent Femmes released a new album, and my wife and I went to go see them, and it literally was just like their old stuff, but with like Caribbean steel drum music. Also, it's very bizarre. Anyway, who do we got calling in, Sebastian?
We have Frederick, and they just want to talk about the relation between communism and religion. Like, they keep seeing posts about Marx, saying that religion's incompatible with Marxism. So
bring him on in. Frederick, my man, what's up, brother?
What is up, Noah, my brother? What's going on?
I got a new move. Check this out. Watch. You ready? Watch.
What? Okay.
I'm very stupid tonight. I started spinning my chair around, and Eddie was like, "Stop it! You look so dumb." And I'm like, "No."
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what was it? The James Lindsay sword thing, where it's like
that was funny. That was funny. I'm.
And then they added what was that guy with the what was it the yeah. A lot of funny memes, but
1 second, Frederick. Poper's with the 5. Thanks, brother. He says ACP Coffee Enterprise with Noah as CEO. We will be the best baristas. The best baristas. No baristas will ever defeat us.
Yeah, we're gonna buy up all the coffee shops. We're gonna rename them to ACP Coffee or something.
When I was, I sat in on a few Ohio chapter meetings a while ago when I actually had a free minute to do so, and one of them they were discussing the chapter business, right? And I was like, look, I have this idea of a barista-less coffee shop. It would just be too funny to do a coffee shop, but no baristas whatsoever. It's all like those machines at a gas station, right? Where you just click the little thing.
Or you make your own cappuccino or something.
Right. Well, exactly. We don't need baristas. We can automate that shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you gotta
or you could do it yourself, since it's all what you want to do.
Well, look, I'm not gonna say I don't go into Starbucks. I do. And actually, a good friend of mine is one of the organizers of a Starbucks union, because even if you are at that level, get yours, whatever. It's fine. It's but I prefer to make my own coffee. And I'll tell you what, Black Rifle Coffee Company is the best coffee I've ever had.
My uncle has that stuff.
It's so good, dude. So good. Hey, Black Rifle Coffee Company.
I'm not
If
really
you're looking for podcasts to fund, talk to this guy.
Yeah. Sorry to break your spirits, but I'm not really a big coffee drinker. I'm more of less like a green tea kind of guy.
Oh, that's okay. Not
So-
everyone's into the weird shit I am. I drink like super dark black coffee. I like everything bitter. I like bitter. I don't know. I always told like that like dumb joke like I like my coffee like I like my women, right? I always say that, but then I say like I like it.
or
I like my coffee.
or the
made out of
what was
ground up
that?
beans with
What was that
boiling
quote
hot
from
water put on it.
Men in Black 3? Where
Oh,
something about it tasting like dirt or something.
I've never seen Men in Black 3. I did once. So is that the one with Johnny Knoxville in it?
Yeah.
So
Wait, no, that's number 2. That's number 2. Number
Okay.
3 is when they go time travel or something.
Time travel. No, I think I was out of the Men in Black fandom or whatever by that point. But I met Johnny Knoxville once. It's kind of a funny story. So there was a live Jackass event going on the same weekend my band was playing a show, right? And they came to the show to see the band that we were opening for on tour. And so immediately, people lined up to start talking to these guys, right? It's Johnny Knoxville and Steve-O. And so like I'm
Steve-O, I like that guy. Sad thing is that there's a lot of stuff that.
Check this out. Like,
wait, was this when he was on crack or was he like on rehabilitation?
I have no idea. But I do know. So I'm like, I'm young and I'm stupid and half drunk, and I'm like, I'll stand in this line. But then I didn't realize, like, oh, this is a line to actually talk to these guys. I have nothing to say to them. What do I have to say to Johnny Knoxville? Like, cool pranks, bro. I don't know. So I get up there and I'm like, oh, Johnny Knoxville, you're not that funny. And Steve-O thought that was hilarious and ended up just coming and hanging out with us the rest of the night, buying everybody drinks. It was a great night.
Yeah.
But anyway, you had a question, and
as much
nonsensing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've watched their movies when I was young because my dad watched them.
So my friends and I were doing that stuff like without video cameras, way before them. We had this thing we would just like try to sneak away to slap each other in the face, and I'm talking about hard, like as hard as you possibly can. That ended in tragedy one night, though, as I sort of like we were on tour and my buddy was driving the van, right? And I sort of snuck up alongside. He was talking to a girl in the passenger seat, and his window was down, so I reached in and just slapped him one, right? And he chased me down the street, and like was like wanted to fight me over that. Anyway, I'm sorry. I said no more nonsense.
But besides all of that, let's get back to business.
Yeah. So what was your question, Frederick?
So I keep getting these tag-ins about how you can't be a communist and a Christian, and they bring up this idea that you can't serve money and God alone or some stuff, and try to compare that to those two.
So what you're saying is that you have like Christians telling you can't be a communist and a Christian?
Yeah, basically like these and I like to ask your opinion on this because I'm sure there's a lot of Christians and churches that have been paid by corporations, all that kind of stuff, and even even the churches themselves are like a corporation. The prosperity gospel and stuff.
I mean, look into just televangelism, right? Just sort of distorting religion in order to rip people off and take their money. That's not right. Any Christian I know would say that's absolute blasphemy, right? Using the word of God for them as a money-making scheme. That's horrible for Christians.
Of course.
But so for me, it's interesting how they phrased it, that you can't serve God and money. But I wonder why they think being a communist means you serve money. Being a communist means you serve the people. And isn't this exactly
Yeah.
what Christians are meant to do?
Of course.
You know, they often talk about it being, materialist. And I'd have to direct you to a Christian Marxist for
Yeah.
that one, because I'm not. I've always been agnostic. I grew up in a Soviet household, and there were some issues in the Soviet Union with
Yeah.
communists and religion. So, like, kind of I just, it was never part of my life, right?
Yeah, I mostly like I'm not gonna say like my family like atheist or anything, but they were a part of the what was it, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which
Okay.
is basically have you heard of Alan G. White by any chance?
No, I do not. I'm not familiar with.
So she was the one that founded the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We called her the prophetess because she had these visions or something.
Okay.
And then her church distorts a lot of like like the teachings about the new covenant as to replace the old
Okay.
by blending the old and new, like
Sounds
going to
like-
church
sounds
on
like
Saturday and
dialectical analysis.
yeah, like blending in going to church on Saturday instead of Sunday, or following the dietary laws,
Mhm.
the Jew, that kind of stuff. But
Well, let's swing it back around to sort of Marxism, communism, and Christianity. I'd point out,
yeah,
look, communist leaders in America have been almost all Christian. I mean,
yeah,
the old party, like most meeting places were in Christian churches. And also, like
and I think
the one thing I hear from, like, especially from like there's this sort of like trad cath LARP going around right now, right?
yeah.
The one thing I
I
hear.
was
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been around those circles, and trust me, that it's just a bunch of LARP.
It bothers me because, like, half of the people I know in my neighborhood that I love and respect are Christians, and they mock them as they try to use
Yeah,
Christianity as a sort of way to feel superior and create an insular, exclusive group, which is just the opposite of the teaching of the Gospels. I've been learning about this stuff lately, and well, not lately, but I have been learning about this stuff, and it just bothers me to no end that what they really embody at the end of the day is Satanism. Right? There's one tenet
yeah,
of the church in
and
Satanism.
even saying that they represent Christian values. Meanwhile, like even James Lindsay does this. Like he says he embodies Christian values. Meanwhile, he's doing a lot of weird stuff. His daughter and
Yeah.
he talks about bad about his wife, I think.
Yeah, and it's just like, if you want to be a Christian, brother, just do it. Right? Like, don't like tell everybody.
But don't like
else how
burn
to do it,
yourself out,
It becomes just
Like,
as
don't-
performative as wokeism, right?
Yeah.
But look, what I really want to get at is this materialism versus idealism thing. And
Yeah.
how there's like this distortion of an old quote from Marx from his critique of Hegel's philosophy of right. In this critique, what he's doing is critiquing the religious form of criticism because it's the only form there was before materialism, right? It was all learning happened within the church. So it had to be religious in order to criticize. This is how the scholastics begin, right? And philosophy itself, which is cool and an important part of philosophy's history. But he's saying that we need a more scientific form of religious or criticism that can't end in just statements being true because they're true. We need to look deeper than that. And in this, he talks about religion and how it's and tries to begin a scientific look at it. and he calls it the opium of the masses, right? But this isn't the entire
even Marx talks about this, and
this is what
I
I'm
was
talking
thinking
about.
like he was talking about the context of the time being that opium was a medicine to
Right.
treat pain. It
In-
they didn't understand like the side effects of it really.
Well, it sort of yeah. I think you're close, but the thing is, that's not even the whole passage, right? The whole passage,
Mhm.
he doesn't just call it the opium of the masses. He calls it the sigh of the oppressed creature. He calls it the heart of a heartless world. That the world for
Yeah.
regular people is hard. And so they turn to religion to soften that, to give them a balm for the pain caused by everyday life, especially in the turn into capitalism when all that is solid is melting into air, right? Everything everyone's known
Yeah.
is going away. They're getting thrust into factories to sell their lives to some parasite, right? So they turn to this,
And like
and
even
what
the
it does,
early
hold on, Frederick,
labor
hold on.
movement.
Well, what it
Okay.
does is it masks the pain, but at the same time, because they're now like sort of safe and secure in their knowledge of their afterlife, they're not sort of looking at ending the pain in the real world. They're just dealing with it, right? They're sort of
Yeah.
taking an opiate. They're getting rid of the pain for a minute, and that's enough. And Marx is saying that's not enough. We need to end this pain for good, basically.
Yeah.
And Marius
But
had a
even
good
then,
point.
it's like
Marx even
churches
said that-
were the epicenter of the labor movement, the early labor movement.
Absolutely. I mean, Marius has a good point here too. By the way, he said that Marx never said a bad word about Jesus. He even said that Jesus Christ was a revolutionary in his time, which is true. Real quick, also, thank you, Boar Hob, for the 50 pounds, brother. He says, sorry, no DC account. And he's asking a question here. So we're gonna get to this question after your call's over. I just want to say
Okay.
thank you. But yeah, what else you got for it? Is that it, Frederick?
Not just that, but like I have like I opened up a server now. I think you heard about it.
I'm not
If,
very in touch with social media, so maybe not.
Well, it's not really on social media because
Okay.
we don't want grifters and stuff to come in because we already had some grifter named Brian come in to try to
Brian.
get the server nuked.
Always Brian's. I hate Brian's. I'm just kidding. I actually very much admire and respect a guy named Brian.
But yeah, it's a little community of like Christian communists, and we talk about theology and Marxist theory and that kind of stuff, and how both of these connect.
Cool, very cool.
So I'm hoping there could be more of that in the future.
Absolutely, brother. Hey, the more education there can be, the more discussions there can be, the better. I wish I had time to do all that stuff in my life again. It would be nice, like have conversations with people again. I miss those days. But thank you so much for your call, brother. We always love to hear from you. Have a good week, and I hope to hear from you again soon.
Yeah, you too, brother.
All right, let's get to Boar Hav's question here. I like Frederick, man. He's a cool kid. All right, so he says, how does Marxism make sense of the medical profession? Medics are in service to the biotech and knowledge production industries, but also has potential to organize labor. Please recommend books on this and give your own take. Thanks. Great question. So, doctors and nurses, etc., are part of what we call the professional classes, right? Now, in the era of industrial capitalism, right, all of society begins to revolve around generalized commodity production as it generalizes, right? And this begins to sort of reflect itself in social life, right? We begin seeing the class struggle, right? We see the proletariat organizing itself and even overthrowing the bourgeois class in multiple countries. A fifth of the entire world was communist at one point, and we'll get there again. They can't keep us down for long, you know. Now, professional classes are not classes that are involved in commodity production. That's not to say they're not necessary, right? I mean, we need doctors in society, right? And there's even an argument for teachers with their sort of reproduction of the working class producing value, but that's not. We don't need to get into that tonight. Excuse me. So, here's the thing. When we're talking about the interests of humanity, in the bourgeois epoch, they become the interests of the proletariat, right? These become, because they're the interests of that class and antagonism with the bourgeois class and the disillusion of all classes, they become the sort of leading edge of bringing humanity forward. Not so for doctors, right? Doctors could, sort of get together and work on their own behalf and reproduce class society. It's only the proletariat whose interests are the dissolution of classes altogether. Again, that's not to say doctors are unimportant or good. You know, they are and they are, right? And the way medicine is practiced now, I mean, the nurses union are hardcore sometimes. My mother-in-law is in that union, and if it was, and maybe this is coming back, but she would absolutely be like a pipe swinging union lady if that were the era we were in, right? So it really, like, it depends. They can go either way as part of a middle class. They can be with us, right? Or they can be on the side of the boss because they're that sort of bourgeoisified. They own a lot more than just their labor to sell. Now, here's the issue of middle classes, right? In the 20th century, out of the proletariat and out of some of the professional classes rises a new form of middle class, right? Workers that can own more than just their labor to sell, that have something to lose other than their chains, right? Houses, etc. And this begins a new sort of social relationship with them. But in the 21st century, specifically beginning in 2008, with financialization and the advance of technology, we start seeing the process that I call reproletarianization, where financialization has become where commodity production is, the rate at which profits are made with it has become so small that financialization is the only sort of avenue left, right? Like, even spreading to other countries' markets isn't enough anymore. And this begins like a whole new sort of situation of the M to M prime circuit, right? Just beginning with one investment, moving it to another place, stock buyback scams, asset price inflation scams. I write about all this in my book. But this affects regular people. At this point in history, right now, 2025, 78% of us are working paycheck to paycheck. And so this sort of delineates a new line that I don't know if we can say it includes doctors, but I can guarantee you it includes most of a hospital staff. You know, maybe residents. I don't know. I don't know enough about the medical professions and doctors specifically to tell you for certain, but there is an entire section in my book on the professionals, and I'd recommend reading that once it comes out. I hope that helps. Thank you so much for the 50 pounds. I hope you get your internet fixed and I hope we hear from you soon because that was a fantastic question. We're going to keep going with these. Ashtabula Reviews says, hell yeah, thank you for the $5, brother. Thank you. Chima Madu, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you for the $5. Says he'd like to learn more about the Haitian Communist Party founder Jacques Rouman. I am not an expert on Haiti. Unfortunately, I don't know a lot about it. You know, we all have sort of areas we specialize in studying wise. Mine is the dialectics of abstract and concrete, like the real foundation of the dialectical worldview, and Soviet history. I don't know a lot about Haiti. What I can tell you, though, is to go to Haiti Liberté, run by Kim Ives. It's a fantastic outlet that has, it's just chock full of information about Haiti. I'm sure that they would have book recommendations for you and all that. Also, while you're at it, check out the documentary that him and Dan Cohen made. Sebastian, do you remember the name of that documentary about barbecue in Haiti and what's going on right now? Or if not, can you look it up for us? We'll get it for you. Don't worry. I think Sebastian might be busy at the moment, but he'll make sure to get it. He is always listening, like Big Brother, right? He's listening from your TV. I don't know. I'm stupid. But yeah, I mean, it's something I'd like to learn about more myself. Usually I have an answer for this. Unfortunately, I don't right now. So I apologize, but what are you going to do? I'm only one man, God damn it.
Do you know who the documentary is by? Is it
Yes,
Real News
Dan
Network?
Cohen and Kim Ives. It's called something like Future something. I was just watching it with my mom, actually. My mom broke down crying. She loved it. Here, I'll look.
Can't seem to find it on YouTube.
No, it is on YouTube. I know that. Hold on. I got to go over here to reach my keyboard. Let's see. Let's see. Another Vision, it's called. About Jimmy Barbecue Cherzier, who is an inspirational figure trying to take the fight to the imperialists destroying his country in Haiti. So check that out if you're interested
I
in
found it.
Haiti.
I'll try
Yeah,
to link it right now.
it's a great documentary. Seriously, like my mom, she gave up, you know, when I was a kid after the Soviet Union fell and kind of fell into liberalism and all that kind of stuff. He got really into it too. But this sort of like brought her back around to revolutionary stuff, and it was really cool watching it with her. She's sick right now. Unfortunately, she has stage 4 lung cancer, so she can't do a lot anymore. But it was really cool to see that fire in her eye that I remember from when I was a kid, right? Like it sounds silly, but it's the same fire that like lit her to go when she was young, right? And strangely similar to when she would whip a shoe at me when I was doing something bad, right? Like, put that down. And dude, she would hit me from like across the yard, right? Like, get off of your sister. What are you doing hitting your sister? You know, like, sorry, mom. We were just playing. Like, I didn't mean to punch her, you know. I didn't really hit my sister. I'm joking. But yeah, she did throw her shoe at me and it hurt like a motherfucker. Anyway.
And speaking about Haiti Liberté as well, ACP New York is actually working with them to help rejuvenate their space, just help them out wherever we can.
Awesome. That's really cool. Do you know what all of you guys been doing?
Well, right now we're trying to clean up their space because they have problems physically with a lot of their ceiling tiles are broken.
Oof.
They're just a lot of clutter around. But anything we can. They also have a bookstore that we're gonna try to assist with.
Dude, is it a drop ceiling, I assume?
Yeah.
I hate those so much. Dude, what, like, those are they're possibly the most annoying thing for when you're doing like a finishing trade, because they're already installed and everything you do like up high, you're gonna hit your head on them. And then like
Yeah.
pop them up, they're out of place. That any water gets on them and they start to crumble. They're ugh, hate them.
Yeah, we pretty much have to replace all of them.
Yeah, I'm sure, and they're not cheap. Like, I mean, they're not expensive, but they're not cheap either. Anyway, I think we call it a night early tonight. I do still have to go to my mom's, so it kind of works out that for a change, we actually don't have an overwhelming amount of callers. So let's do a last call. Last call. Anyone that wants to call in, do so now.
Yeah, there's actually someone waiting in the room.
Oh.
I haven't gotten their question yet, but I
Go
can just
for
drag
it.
them in.
Yeah, go for it, brother. Go grab them. Thank you, Johnny. I really appreciate that, brother. Thank you. We'll go through the chat for a minute here.
He's here right now.
Perfect. What's up? How you doing tonight?
Hey, how's it going? Good to be back here again.
Excellent. So what do you got for us tonight, Chima? Or is it Chima?
It's Chimamanda. You pronounced it right the first time.
Perfect. Chimamadi. Okay. What do you got for us, brother? The floor is yours.
All right, so it's like see, before I came onto Midwestern Marx, like I used to go to like a lot of these like so-called like Pan-African channels, and I used to read a lot of like Pan-African literature, like what has become very disappointing is that a lot of these like these so-called Pan-African, Pan-Caribbean platforms, they basically preach the whole neoliberal philosophy. They even talk about like just leave behind the poor workers, leave the poor workers behind. Let's reach out to the billionaires within the African and Caribbean countries.
Yep.
And all that.
Yeah, and it's a far cry from the old, Du Boisian Pan-Africanism that was part of a progressive project, very far cry from, the sort of Gaddafi Pan-Africanism, which is disappointing. There's I forget who came up with it, but the term was neo-Pan-Africanism to describe it. And it's sort of like, it's this post-Soviet thing where since Marxism, Leninism wasn't so sort of world-renowned anymore, right? They began looking into Western theory and the class collaborationism of neoliberalism, right? Like that identity groups must stick together because of identity rather than a real material interest that people have, which really leaves the door open for Western NGOs, especially USAID NGOs, to come in and push this kind of thing, right? And push compradors into place that are going to really, really just rob people in these countries blind. And I think it's a beautiful thing to see the struggle against it reaching new heights as of maybe last year, right? With Ibrahim Traore and with the economic freedom fighters in South Africa, who a friend of mine, Jackson, was just able to sit down and have a really good discussion with. And I think it's like sort of the beginning of like sort of walking out of the dark era that came before us into a new sort of more united future where people of all different nations can band together because we all have the same enemy at the end of the day. And it's not based on skin color, but based on capital, right? And the fact that they're robbing us all blind. I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think, Chima?
Yeah, no, you're like right, you're like right on the money there, because like people try to be like reduce everything to say like I to say like race or gender. They like completely omit the class element to everything.
They do, and it drives me crazy because like I'm just like, look, okay, let's apply that logic. What you're saying is that I need to sort of uh pretend that Jeff Bezos and I have something in common because our skin colors are the same, right? Or we're both American.
Right.
Jeff Bezos is one of the people destroying America, and as a working class American, I want to fight against that. Like he's my enemy. The fact that we have the same skin color or we're from the same country doesn't matter if he's the one destroying that country and most people of all skin colors. It's wild to me that like the logic never transfers. I don't know.
Like, and the part about this whole new disturbance dynamic, like you see a lot of global South diasporans thinking that any national leader that arbitrarily kills a lot of innocent people is automatically seen as a strong leader. Like you'll see a lot of Haitian diasporans worship Pop Francois Papadoc Duvalier,
Yeah.
for example,
Or
despite
baby
everything
too. Yeah.
and you'll see a lot of Dominicans worship Rafael Trujillo as if he's some sort of strong leader, despite what he has done. And and one thing I've seen, and one recent phenomenon I've seen, like I've seen a lot of these global South diasporans have like wet dreams about going back to their home country and making it more like Israel. Like they'll say things like, "Oh, I don't care if Israel is committing a genocide or if it's an apartheid state. They're wealthy and they're prosperous, so we should be like them."
Right. Except
Like that's how bad it's gotten.
here's the thing. And I don't know these people, so like I don't know, but that just sounds so utterly naive to me. Like the reason the Zionist project has all that money is because they got it from American taxpayers. They took our shit, right? And then they took the land of the people that live there. Like it's just that. And so what that does, even if it looks like they're prosperous, what are they dealing with right now? And what have they been dealing with all along? They've been dealing with revolutionaries who will not stop, period. Will not stop. And Hamas is on the come up right now. They're doing everything they can to try to control the narrative because people all around the world are behind Palestine. And so to like want to get in the situation of Israel is basically one, saying you want to be dependent on the American ruling class, which is getting weaker than ever and crazy to me. And two, just saying you want endless people rising up against you. So like, I don't know. I try to always put myself in other people's shoes, but that's one position that I'm like, just how can you look at the world and not see that? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like I think it's because due to the all the propaganda we've been fed, like a lot like a lot of us seem to have like like how am I going to frame this? Like people in our community see communism in two ways. They'll either see that as this deadly authoritarian system, or on the other hand, they'll see it as this system for weak, dumb, and lazy people who want handouts.
Right. Or both at the same
And,
time somehow, which is bizarre.
right. And they'll basically say listen, I'm not trying to be a victim. I don't want to be a handout. I want a strong leader. I want a strong nation. I want a strong nation full of smart, smart and strong and rich people. Like, however you're going to get that,
I mean,
I don't know.
and here's the thing: when you're talking to these people, like that's where communism sells to them, right? Like, look at China right now because of communism, leading the entire world. Who else can actually
don't
stand up to
mention
the
China to
Americans?
them.
Nobody.
Yeah, don't mention China to them because they'll say, "Oh, China's not really communist. They only got up because of capitalism."
That one blows my mind. Like, so they're just lying about being communist. Like, everyone in China is lying to you. That seems far-fetched, you
Right.
know? Like,
According,
any
according
Chinese
to
will
them,
say,
that's
yeah,
what Chinese people do. That's it.
right. Like,
That's what Chinese people do according to them.
it's
They lie.
right. Every Chinese. It's wild. Like, okay, so if that's what you want to call communism or capitalism, fine, let's do that capitalism then. I don't care what you call it, right? Like, every communist in the world calls that communism. If you need to call it capitalism to get behind it, fine, use whatever word you want. It's a word, right? Like, what interests me though, I feel like a lot of Chinese in America sort of learn not to be so upfront about communism. They'll talk about just like the government, right? Um,
Right.
I go to acupuncture once a week, and my acupuncturists, they're all from China, and they're the most amazing people. Like, the second week I was there, I began just being treated like family. Like, they were giving me food as I arrived, right? Like, here, you have to try this, Noah. Like, they're so cool. But I was one of the reasons for that is the first time I was there, I wore my Midwestern Marx hoodie, right? They're like, "Oh, Marx, they love him in my country." I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're trying to make people love him here too, right?" But even then, like, she's
Yeah.
very careful because I was telling her how we might be going to China soon. She's like talking about the government this, the government that, and like, well, what do you think of just the Communist Party in general? And she seemed almost taken aback that I would even ask her that question. And she's like, people in China, like, it's just how things are done, right? Like, it's not an issue to us that everyone's a communist. It's just how it is, right?
Right.
The party's just it's like calling your neighborhood committee or your party neighborhood party committee is like calling city works almost. Like, hey, I need a pothole filled, right? Except there it actually gets filled. It's like,
Right.
if people want to pretend that is somehow capitalism, I mean, sure, but it's just stupid. I don't know.
Right. If the U.S. is anything like China, that bridge near my city would have been fixed a long time ago. I'm talking about the Key Bridge near Baltimore, which is where I live.
Oh,
That
the
bridge
one
would
that
have been
fell?
fixed right away if it was anything like China.
Yeah, that's the one that fell and killed a bunch of people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly. They care about their infrastructure and their people. So, like, how is that like? And then look at our capitalist wonderland, apparently, where our infrastructure is rated like D, and bridges are falling and killing people. I don't know.
Like you like 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 just go through Baltimore outside the harbor. There are like blocks upon blocks of abandoned houses and unpaved roads.
Oh, Cleveland's the exact same, brother. And I've been to Baltimore. I know Baltimore is hardcore. Like, East Cleveland, where I grew up, is hardcore, but Baltimore is hardcore. Like,
Like yeah, yeah, it yeah. You're talking about a city that whose leaders have been bought out by both the real estate and prison executives also.
oh
So
man.
so every block so so instead of building schools, helping out local businesses, like they're either building prisons or they're building luxury apartments. That's literally all they build here.
Right, luxury apartments that are just used as real estate investments. No one's actually living in them, right? That like half of
Nah.
Cleveland has, dude. One of the neighborhoods in Cleveland is called Slavic Village, right? And it used to be the heroin capital of the Midwest until maybe 10 years ago. There was a giant bust, and after that, they tried to gentrify. They put in one little development of condos. And this is all super ghetto all around. Like it's very close to where I grew up, right? Um, and no one lives in these condos. They stand empty, but none of them are for sale because they're an investment for when they decide to continue gentrifying the area, right? And that's just how it all is. Like we used to have one of these like really hyper corrupt mayors, Frank Jackson, it was his name. One of the last things he did before leaving office was build a giant dirt bike park in Cleveland, Ohio, where nobody rides dirt bikes, right? Because
Why?
they knew people that were building this and had the dirt bike stuff and blah, 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 right? So he gets voted out only for this guy, Justin Bibb, to get voted in, who's known as the boy of the real estate cartel, the local real estate cartel that owns everything. So it's just more decay piled on more decay and corruption. And then they wonder why the people hate them. You know, why they're like
Right.
the Communist Party is rising up now. I think they're in for the fight of their lives, and I think they're going to end up losing. At this point, there's no going back to how it was. It's forward to communism or bust. That's the way I see it.
Exactly. Like unfortunately, there isn't yet a communist party here in Maryland. Hopefully, one happens soon. And I guess
I think there's
I
a
guess it's up
chapter.
to me to like.
I think there is a
sorry,
chapter in
continue.
Maryland. I could be wrong.
Okay, I could check it out.
Yeah, go to
I mean, if there,
acc.us/join and it'll tell you.
oh, okay, and if there is like I wouldn't mind joining, honestly.
Well, there you go, brother. We're actually doing a recruitment drive right now. So we have a new recruit status. So people who like sort of don't know whether it's for them or if they have time to commit, stuff like that. It's less intense and less is demanded of recruits than the cadre. So if you're just looking to try it out, go for it. Hey, look, you're a smart guy. We'd love to have you, brother.
Oh, excellent. Like, and if you guys need somebody to cook, I'm here. Like, I mean, I'm a struggling private chef, but I do know my craft, I can say.
That's awesome. That is awesome. You know, I used to run a kitchen back in the day. Nowhere near a chef. But I know how to cook. I could definitely assist a chef. I know that.
Hey, hey, that's more than most. That's more than most, to be honest with you.
Yes, it is. I could definitely do like a sous chef job. Although, like I gotta say, brother, like that is like one of the highest stress, most thankless jobs I've ever been in.
And not to mention the lowest paying. Like,
Yup.
listen, I work like 60 out. I work like 60 hours a week, and right now it's like 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 honestly, I can't even afford my own place.
Dude, I feel you. I mean, that's all of us, right? But like, you're right. It's a low paying industry, and it's messed up because you work so hard. You really do. I don't know. Look,
And
go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry. Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's all right. Go ahead, brother.
And what's hard about it is coming from an immigrant family who wants you to be like say like a doctor or lawyer or something. Like being a chef is not considered to be an actual skill
Yeah.
to a lot of people.
Which is weird. Like they got entire schools for it, culinary schools, right? Like I
And they're
don't.
not cheap either.
Oh, really? I see. I don't know. I don't know anything about. Well, I guess no school is cheap, right? Because
Like
it's a money making scheme nowadays. But
they cost like at least $20,000 per year.
Jesus Christ.
And this was back in 2007. It's probably more than that right now.
I'm sure. Like, who has $20,000? You know, in this day and age, nobody. All right. Well, look, Chima, it was great hearing from you, brother. I hope to hear more from you in the future. This was a great call. Hopefully, I'll see you in member announcements in the party stuff. So, good luck to you, and we'll talk again. All right. I think that's going to do it for us for the night, guys. Another fantastic show. I don't know if I even messed anything up tonight. Do we have any more calls, or were you sort of letting it wind down, Sebastian?
No, that should be it. I'm just coming in here just to...
Based.
I don't know who put that on our list of videos, but I can't get enough.
Based.
All right. See you guys next week.
Later, y'all.
Stand up, all victims of oppression, for the tyrants fear your might. Don't cling so hard to your possessions, for you have nothing if you have no rights. Let racist ignorance be ended, for respect makes the empires fall. Freedom is merely privilege extended, unless enjoyed by one and all. So come, brothers and sisters, for the struggle carries on. The International unites the world in the song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The international ideal unites the human race. Let no one build walls to divide us, walls of hatred nor walls of stone. Come greet the dawn and stand beside us. We'll live together or we'll die alone. In our world poisoned by exploitation, those who have taken, now they must give. And end the vanity of nations, we've but one earth on which to live. So come, brothers and sisters, for the struggle carries on. The International unites the world in the song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The international ideal unites the human race. And so begins the final drama, in the streets and in the field. We stand unbowed before their armor, we defy their guns and shields. When we fight, provoked by their aggression, let us be inspired by life and love. For though they offer us concessions, change will not come from above. So come,